Coming to you from the Geo World Center in Mumbai, this is the second iteration of the Great Oceans Dialogue, and we'd like to welcome all our international viewers and participants online. My name is Dr. Vishal Serban, and I'm a senior academic at the University of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. Now, in this session, we are going to take a deep dive into the governance frameworks of coastal regulation zones. Now, unlike remote maritime realms like the high seas and the deep seabed area, our interaction with the oceans are at its greatest along the coasts. There are two very interesting statistics that can underscore the CRZ framework in India. The first is that over 125 million people live within 25 kilometers of the coastline, according to the 2011 census. And the second interesting fact is that the coastline of India is over 11,000 kilometers. Now, in this discussion, there are three factors that we have to balance in coastal zone management, a triad of factors. The first one is economic development, the second is environmental stewardship, and the third is the resilience of coastal communities. Now, to take me through this discussion, I have great pleasure in welcoming Dr. Jayati Chore, and she is the Executive Director of the South Asia Consortium for Interdisciplinary Water Studies in Hyderabad, and the co-lead for the Global Mangrove Alliance in the Indian chapter. And I also have great pleasure in welcoming Ambassador Thomas Lukaszuk, who is a researcher at the University of Warsaw and a former ambassador of Poland to India. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
So let's start off firstly looking at the governance frameworks. Now, we know that we need to have a balance between protecting the environment and promoting development. Now, let me start with you, Dr. Chore. In your experience, what are some of the critical aspects to strengthen coastal zone governance and make it more sustainable and inclusive?
Yeah. So thank you so much, Dr. Vishal, for the introduction and inviting me for this important talk. I will begin with emphasizing that balance isn't about compromise. It's all about integration. So we need to ensure that ecological integrity, community well-being, and economic planning must be co-designed through participatory approach. And while we talk about strengthening CRZ or coastal zone regulation, coastal regulatory zone governance, we must actually move beyond the idea of looking at the CRZ regulation as a constraint. Rather, we need to look at as an opportunity to ensure sustainable prosperity. So these are two ideas I would like to emphasize while we talk about this, how we can ensure this balanced outcome. This CRZ framework in India has come a long way. It all started in 1991 when we had the first notification, which actually mainly focused on restrictions, like how to protect environment, how to protect natural resources, to now this 2019 notification, which does talk about sustainable development and uh, uh, sustainable development and climate adaptation. Yeah, I wanted to also bring in climate aspect. But if we want to truly deliver balanced outcome, we need to strengthen three pillars. And what are these three pillars? So first is governance coherence. So you know that CRZ decisions are all most of the time, like often very fragmented, because you have multiple ministries, institutes, organizations, stakeholders involved, and they come with conflicting interests, and most of the time they work in silos. So the first pillar which should be strengthened is to bring required coordination and synergies. Um, for example, like you have ports, fisheries, urban housing ministry. The like idea is that you can actually develop an unified ecosystem-based coastal governance approach under MOEFCC, because I think that actually would be the best option to act as an umbrella institute. And then so this is about like how we address this fragmentation or siloed approach. And the second pillar could be ensuring inclusion. So when we say inclusion, so for example, this 2019 CRZ framework, it does talk about coastal livelihoods, but communities still need a real seat at the table. They should also be empowered enough to actually, so that their voices are heard. So because when you look at the framework, it all looks perfect, but then the challenge is when we have to actually implement it. So we though it talks about community livelihood, but then we don't have mechanism to have effective voices from the community. So if I'm actually going beyond the like time,
No,
you can stop me.
I'd love to hear your third one. Do you have
Yeah.
a third
Yeah, so we
criteria?
have third one is
Yes, please.
third pillar is
Reinforce.
transparency. So
Okay.
how this whole CRZ mapping and identification of CRZ zones could be transparent. So here we could actually make use of all these advanced scientific technologies. You have GIS, you have different kind of indices which can be used. So here, like for example, you can have a like clear um, like stretches, because this CRZ 19 to 2019 notification has identified different zones, like they are
Yes.
ecological sensitive areas, then you have
Yes.
urban areas, rural areas. So we need to bring in a regular proper transparent mechanism to regular map and
Yes.
revise these
Yeah.
coastline.
I'm glad you mentioned that 1991 notification, because it was criticized when it first came out. They said that if they were going to create uniform regulations for the entire Indian subcontinent, it didn't take into account the diversity of the environment, the biodiversity, the demographic patterns that change, the natural resources, the differences across the entire coastline of the subcontinent. So I just wanted to ask you one more follow-up. So how do we ensure that these frameworks are adaptable, taking into account these three factors that you mentioned?
Yeah, so actually that's such an important question, because you know that India is such a vast country, and you like rightly said that there's a lot of diversity, because you see that our coastline is not uniform, because you have dense urban stretches, you have fragile deltas, you have islands. So it's all very diverse. So one single uh, template cannot actually
Yes.
address all these challenges, which are quite localized. Like here, I would again refer to this latest CRZ notification, that it does reflect this diversity
Yes.
through its classification. So like they have like different classification. So for
Yes.
example, this CRZ 1A is for ecologically sensitive areas, like you have mangroves, you have salt marshes, you have corals. And then CRZ 2 is for urban areas. Then you have CRZ 3A and B for rural areas, and CRZ 4 is for territorial water.
Okay.
So you do have this thing.
Okay.
But as I said, that this framework looks perfect. So the problem is lies not in the framework, but in how in uniformly it is applied. So we need adaptive coastal governance, such as each state and district can develop locally grounded coastal zone management plans that integrates demographic, ecological, and livelihood realities. For example, you have this no development zone. Like here you have this provision that 50 meters in
Yes.
high density rural areas, um, like you cannot have any development, but that may be adequate for any
Right.
rural areas, densely populated rural areas in Kerala, but
Okay.
that cannot actually is not adequate for or it is too little for a state like Odisha, which is
Okay.
cyclone
Okay.
prone area.
Well, thanks for
Yeah.
setting that up so nicely
Yeah.
for us and concisely. I just want to move to you, Ambassador.
Yes.
So, in your experience as a diplomat, I thought maybe you could share with us a few examples or lessons of best practices that could inform the way in which we manage coastal zones in India. So, in other words, I'm asking what was working well elsewhere and what can we learn from them?
Well, speaking about coastal areas, first of all, I should thank you for invitation. But speaking about coastal areas, we have to remember also that it's not only about the continent, but also Nicobar and Andaman Islands, and you have hundreds of islands. Which have to be taken into consideration because those islands are already the part geographically of the Southeast Asia, and also the part of the most important strategic lines of communication. I mean, coming from Indian Ocean to Pacific to China, and so it also put impact on how people behave because it's. I visited also Nicobar and Andaman Islands, and the way of thinking about sea and about also natural resources is different from coastal areas.
Yes.
Of the continent, because the islanders are always, they have the different views. They are more stick into the fisheries, and we have to remember that like in other countries of the global south, so in India we have the majority, it's artisanal, still artisanal fishery, so it's one-day fishery, and this matter of the part not only of economy, but also part of social life and the organization of social life. It's extremely important at the local level. So when putting pressure on different issues of this holistic approach towards the maritime governance and environment, is always this. From my perspective, because I visited, let's say, both west, south, and east coast of India, this element is extremely important. I mean, the socially inclusive. This is what also the government of Narendra Modi since 2014 also is put high on the agenda because the creation of jobs, also the matter of the not only value chain, but the transportation and economic chain at a very local level, with panchayats and all the localities, because for them it's. They had to be sure that there is no such a phenomenon like we are dealing with the many countries in the global south, especially in Africa, in South Atlantic, or in South America, where the trawlers from China and some other countries are coming and overfishing and. This also the maybe the very particular small matter, but still it's for those small villages and for those fishermen. It's extremely important, and they are waiting and also expecting that at the central, at the federal level, the government also thinks about this low grassroots level.
So we don't need to take lessons from too many foreign places too far abroad. Locally itself, like you're looking at islands, and you can take lessons from local governance as well. I got one more question for you, and it probably relates to relationships that you'd be very familiar with, the building relationships as a diplomat. Now, effective coastal governance will have so many different stakeholders and actors involved. You've got governments at national level, at local level, you've got industries, you've got investors, you've got local communities. And my question to you is how do you see these partnerships between all of these stakeholders evolving in this context of coastal regulation?
Yes, in the context of coastal regulation, so for the last 30 years, there's a discussion. I mean, since the first, let's say, establishment of the policy of India, I mean, 1986, even almost 40 years. But I would say this way: the burden of the government, I mean, the federal government, the state government, is still to coordinate and to take care of legislation and the legal framework, as well as the coordination of the dialogue between public and private partnership. It's the decisions, strategic decisions, they still have to be the part of the government, because if you release it to the let's say the profit makers, it's not a good way of the maritime governance and the oceans governance. It's a matter of the also the capacity building and in adjusting the law and legal regulations to the necessities of the economic development, with all the proportions between economy, environment, and this very, very sensitive social structure. And for the federal government, it's a matter of very holistic approach, because if you are thinking, for example, about the changes introduced by the government since 1986, the last time it was 2019, as far as I remember. So it's a matter of, for example, how far you are, how close you can come with all the investments to the seashore. What is the role of the sand dunes? What is the role of mangroves? Because if you release, for example, the investment in the former mangrove areas, especially at your border with Bangladesh, so it might mean that in case of any natural disasters like tsunami, so you will leave the local community helpless, because the mangrove forests, they are protecting them. They know it. So that's why, from my perspective, if the regulations were changed, that allowing to come closer 50 or 100 meters from the seashore, it means you can allowing people, but not in a let's say environmentally sensitive areas, but it's more about the inclusiveness in the small and bigger cities, coming closer to the ports, and building also the complexes related to the ports. It means that the complexes like Moon Report,
Yes.
built by Adanis. I mean, where you have both the port, power plant, you have in the industry, and also you have apartments and the small cities located just next door. And for me, it's important to understand and to differ the regulations, how far you can go and let's say allow investors to be more. I'm not speaking about carriages, but
yes.
still more coherent in their decisions, thinking not about, as I said, not only profit making, but also about
Yes.
the society and
Yes.
the environment.
But I can see some of the linkages with what you're saying and what Dr. Chure is saying. You spoke about government coordination, and it fits well with the pillars, one of the pillars that you mentioned. I think we're running out, although this conversation is going so well, we're running out of time. But I thought maybe I'd give you 30 seconds to maybe say a few parting words, and then Ambassador, you as well.
Yeah. So I think this whole conversation was very important with more and more like people impacting with like by climate change, because
Yes.
our like in India especially coastline are very vulnerable, especially your east coast. So I would just like to say that we should all actually talk about integration, that how
Yes.
like along with your economic progress or development, how you integrate ecological integrity and your community's well-being. So I think that would be
integration. That's the buzzword.
Yeah, that's the word buzzword.
Ambassador,
yes,
30
integration.
seconds.
Yes, 30 seconds. I think the regions we have the process of urbanization, and I think at if India could invest more at the local level, in different states, coastal states, it would be better for the social developments and not increasing the population of ports and big cities like Mumbai. It would be much better for the sustainable development of all the coastal areas.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think the points that you've mentioned are things that can carry in very nicely into many of the other panels and the other discussions that we're having, those fundamental panels.
Yeah, so as our this climate change is rewriting our coastlines, we need more proactive approach rather than reactive, because right now all our approach and strategies, mechanisms are reactive.
Wonderful. So there you have it. In the session, we explored these triad of factors, and we considered how to balance these factors with regard to the context of coastal zone regulation. What remains for me then is to thank our two panelists and also to thank our online participants for joining us. And we hope to see you again in the next iteration of this Oceans Dialogue.
Thank you. Thank you very much.